Morning, everybody. Day 27. I think that's where we are. Good work, as always. Um, so we're moving forward. The next three sessions are going to focus on obstacles of the practice. And this isn't necessarily obstacles that prevent us from entering states of mindfulness. The beauty, the riddle of mindfulness is that there are no obstacles. The only obstacle to mindfulness is the simple thought that you are not being mindful. And this is contained specifically in the scenario of formal practice. I believe you can certainly be unmindful in life, but if you've taken the time out of your day, out of your morning to stop and sit down and close your eyes for 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours, whether you're thinking you are mindful or not, you are certainly in mindfulness. You are experiencing things with intention. So consider that. The only obstacle is the thought that you are not doing it correctly, but you are. So there's nothing to really say in that respect. What we're talking about is a limitation in the concept of mindfulness and a sort of foresight in the vision of what mindfulness is and leads to. And so the obstacle we're going to focus on is this idea that you can have a very powerful formal practice. You can sit down and connect to the moment and be with it on purpose, non-judgmentally, and enter deep states of flow where you are hearing the birds and feeling your body and recognizing your thoughts sort of skirt around in the distance. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're sort of an uplifting person. Mindfulness is like any other skill. It's like learning to catch a ball and run very quickly down a field. It's the same as learning law and, being a force in the courtroom. Just because we learn skills doesn't mean we are good people. Just because we know how to enter flow doesn't mean we are good people. You can enter mindfulness. You can have deep personal experience of meditation and not be a good person and walk out your door and remain self-centered and remain ignorant or sort of blind to the circumstances of others. And so there needs to be this formal and intentional tethering between the beauty and the joy that does arise from a mindful moment to the yearning or wanting or habit of bringing that joy and bringing that presence out into the world and out into your communities and out into your sort of day-to-day interactions and spaces. And so for this reason, so many lineages have sort of a set of values that they work to contemplate and they work to embody. And so this is what we're going to start focusing on for the next 3 days. To tie this to what we were talking about yesterday, everything is a bell. It's important to understand the bell of shame, right? The song of guilt. It's like these cues tell us that we are behaving in a way that is not in accordance with our own inner nobility. And the beauty of mindfulness, the beauty of sitting down and actually interacting, especially with these thoughts that we don't want to accept or embrace. Usually they're difficult thoughts. I may be selfish, or have been selfish. I may be self-centered. That moment was a moment of ferocity. The things we try to hide from our own concepts of our personality. When we learn to be deeply mindful with the moment and embrace those thoughts as well, embrace the bells of those more difficult emotions, they become teachers. Like all things are teachers. And so we ought to learn how to listen to them when we are in the heat and in the thrill of our mindful moments. So I hope all of those sort of concepts come together. The limitation or the obstacle to our practice, just like a little bird in its shell, isn't necessarily preventing us again from the experience of mindfulness. We can have that moment contained within the specificity of our time together. But the obstacle is how do I represent this state of mind as a way of being? How do I become an ambassador of this willingness to uplift, this willingness to be available to that which I am not, right? When the coworker is yapping away at things maybe you don't necessarily care about, can I afford them my attention? Can I listen to them kindly and see the beauty that, and their need to be heard? It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. And it's essentially dissolves into a willingness to sacrifice some aspects of ourselves, some aspects of our attention for the well-being of others. So the obstacle to the practice is not understanding that this is where it leads. Cool. So what are we going to do today? We're still going to work with the mindfulness bell. Here it is. But now as I strike the bell, so much of meditation is just contemplation. You start to rewire the brain in a way that promotes these values that most lineages have. When I strike the bell, I just want you to consider that now you are, through your presence, sacrificing or giving your energy to uplift a reality. And just to understand that this is a scenario training for a more advanced step. That once you've learned to do this in the safety and in the intentionality of your specific and formal practice, go out into your day and do the same thing. You have to think about it. You have to actually take the time to tether these concepts together. Cool. And so we're going to keep advancing this idea of promoting and existing as an embodiment of compassion. Let's get into it, everyone. Comfortable seated position. And so right away, as you settle into your space, appreciate the home it's become. Over the course of this month, essentially, you are familiar with your own temple. And one of the more satisfying details for myself is I can feel an immediate shifting of gears. Now, while mindfulness makes no claims of the sentience of all existence, mindfulness has no comments on the pervasiveness of soul and consciousness. It might be enriching to consider that through your presence and through the extension of your awareness, your environment, your walls, your beds, your body certainly are being uplifted, that your attention is nutrition. Just like rain, just like food, just like affection. And we can feel when we are receiving attention. And perhaps the moment can too. Slow breaths. Every time you hear the bell, you have to think. The next extension of mindfulness is to be an embodiment of compassion. A radiating star of attention. To be good. To uplift. And so now this is no longer just for our own benefit. Slow the breath. And feel how you are giving yourself to this moment. There is mindfulness and there is flow state. Try to feel that you have found the throttle And from that can access the moment, can access mindfulness at will. By deciding to cast off judgment, deciding to be more here. Not permanently, but consistently enough. Feel that in a breath, you can conduct your mind, that you have developed agency in regards to this game. Slow the breath. And so now you are here. You are now. You are in mindfulness. What next? The limitation of our concept of practice is that we think this is the end. We must tether this space. We must tether this journey to a willingness to embody good. To become a bell of presence, to become a bell of compassion. This is the practice that lasts a lifetime. And so as you sit, wish joy upon the world. Wish success to all. Wish well-being to all. Wish love to all. And you will feel through that simple thought a shift in your sitting. You will feel the spark of a soul, the spark of nobility, the spark of virtue. Slow breath. Let's exercise our capacity to articulate our practice and in reality our minds. From extending compassion and well wishes into a moment at large, come back to pure presence. Just connect to the sensory experience. And in that feel, through contrast, that the formal practice is isolated. Spacious, yes. Peaceful, yes. Healing, yes. But it lacks the humanity of extending love. It lacks the emotional bond that is the next step of this experience. Your practice in time becomes an act of service. The formal practice is done, but again, on your own, 10 breaths, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. In these final moments on your own, continue extending your joy. Continue extending your benevolence psychologically into this space. And just feel that it is different. That you are adding benevolence to the peace of simple presence.